साउंड कहाँ से होता है? प्ले कर स्क्रीन बराबर कर लो, नीचे उसमें बैठेगा ऐसा बाहर ही दोनों कैसे करना? जय राम नाम चालू कर दो मैं से।
ठीक है, ओके। हरे कृष्णा। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। जमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much for coming to this wonderful festival, Prerna Festival. And we are celebrating today 198th Prerna Festival. And we have got very, very special speaker today, His Grace Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu. So when you see this topic, why no or why not to spirituality. It's a very, very wonderful topic, and you can understand that a lot of thought process has been put for this topic, and we are going to hear wonderful lessons. So I just want to tell something about Prabhu. He is doing a lot of services, but small things I can say. He has done his computer engineering and MTech from VGTI, a very premier institute here in Mumbai. Then he worked almost for 6 years in different MNCs like Persistent Systems, IBM, Capgemini. During his tenure with these MNCs, he dealt with varying technologies and challenges. He played a role of a team leader for developing software products and services. He also had a chance to work for research and development. During his student life, he came in contact with Krishna consciousness. Thereafter, he applied teaching of Gita in his student as well as professional life. His interest in Krishna consciousness dawned during those days, and he moved in as a full-time preacher at ISKCON Chowpatty, Mumbai in the year 2008. He is a regular speaker at Matunga Vadala base. The audience are students from VGTI College, then ICT College. Apart from this, he conducts various seminars for professional and students on various topics like time management, personality development, character development. He counsels various young professionals and students of Mumbai. He is a core member of ISKCON Youth Services, IOS. He plays varied roles of organizing events, spiritual picnics to building education and training programs. He is a teacher for various scriptural courses like Bhakti Shastri. He is also part of training and education board. He is a member of Temple Counseling Working Committee. So this is an official introduction, but I would like to add something more. So being with him is a great pleasure, and he's a great thinker. He thinks very positively about the students. He makes nice systems, and because of these systems, he creates leaders. A manager who manages things, but the leader creates leaders. So he's a very much thinking about iOS, and for this year, he's a chairman for iOS actually. So we are very fortunate to have him, and let us welcome him by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we'll begin with the offering my gratitude to the We'll begin with the offering my gratitude to all teachers and mentors and all predecessor acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Gopate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpataru brasha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Nama om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. So I'm very grateful to Nanda Prabhu for saying these kind words and encouraging me. So today, our Pradyumna festival, we will be So today in the Pradyumna festival, we'll be taking into this topic. But before I start, I would like to offer my gratitude to His Holiness Kadamba Kanini Swami Maharaj, who few days back left this planet. He's a glorious soul, and because of his, because of his, he preached so much, and he was like a kirtan king. And he lived by his example and giving such a inspiration to all of us. So one of his disciples is His Holiness S.B. Keshava Swami Maharaj. So I'm taking the inspiration from him and presenting today's discussion will be on the same lines. So the topic today is why not? Okay, what is this? Let me just explain it ahead. So we come across many excuses people give, right? Many times so many excuses people give. And sometimes we are seeing small children giving so many excuses, right? For what? For homework, not doing their homework, don't want to go to school, and they give some kind of excuses, right? So we have heard of so many excuses in our regular affair also. So here is, okay. So like there are some excuses people give. I will just hear these excuses. Okay.
प्रशांत स्कूल जाएंगे ना क्यों क्यों नहीं जाएंगे स्कूल भी गीला हो गया था क्यों गीला हो गया पूरा पानी आ गया ये देखो बारिश हो रही है हाँ क्या हो रहा है बारिश हो रही तो कुछ नहीं होता अपन जाएंगे स्कूल नहीं बारिश हो रही है स्कूल जाएंगे अच्छा अपन भीग जाएंगे ओके
And sometimes, people devise so many wonderful ways to give excuses, giving some justification. Just see what this small boy has to say.
क्यों लेट आया? मम्मी ने ना जल्दी ब्रश नहीं करवाया ना। मम्मी ने उसके बाद ना थोड़ी देर में ना दूध पी आया तो फिर ना घोल करवाया इसलिए लेट हो गया आज। कल आ जाऊंगा लेट नहीं। और जल्दी क्या करेगा कल से? जल्दी अट पाऊंगा।
अट पाएगा? श्योर अट पाएगा? जल्दी जल्दी?
नहीं,
फिर?
जल्दी जल्दी ब्रश करूंगा।
वेरी गुड। अगर कल से लेट हुआ तो मार मिलेगा।
ठीक है, पर मम्मी को तो अभी सुधरने दो।
I am not late because of myself, but because of mother, right? So people give all kind of, even in childhood, people give a lot of excuses, right? So from my childhood also, I used to also hear a lot of excuses from my neighborhood children, from my cousins and so on. One of the common was pain in the stomach. Pain in the stomach and I don't want to go. So one of my close friend or relatives, he was having that pain in the stomach and that's why he didn't go for the schools for like a weeks. So he was lying on the bed and he was conversing with me. And in the conversation, generally when the children's converse, has to have some arguments, has to have some, I want that, something like that, and raising his voice. But suddenly when some elderly is passing by the room, he softens his voice, right? And when he has to speak to the some elderly person, uncle or aunt is passing by, he speaks in suddenly so soft voice. He was arguing with me, but suddenly he started speaking so soft voice. And then they start remembering all their music lessons while speaking to their mother or uncle. Nahi, right? This kind of, excuses they start making. No, really, I am feeling a pain, So, so yes. But what happens when even elderly gives the excuses? Elderly people also give the excuses. So there were 4 students who came to the exam hall pretty late. And the examiner asked him, okay, why are you late? And then now they have to devise some story. They said, okay, we were coming by car, but what happened was our car got punctured. And I said, oh, okay, all right. And then he sent all these 4 students to the different rooms, right? And he told them to write the paper. And there was a special paper that was just for these 4 people. First question was, write your name, 5 marks. Second question was 95 marks. Which tire of the car was punctured? So, so if you understand, if you keep making some excuses, they will not grow in the life, right? So when we ask about, will not grow in the life. Like one more excuse I will tell you. There was, I was just monitoring few students, and as you know, they want to sleep for longer time. So one of the boy got late, and I asked him, other boy, why did he didn't come? He said he's what exactly has happened. So when he came back later in the day, I asked him, what happened? So he said, before I was sleeping, this other friend of mine, he gave me a pat on the head. You understand, in Bombay language it's called tapli. So he gave a pat on the head, and that was paining me so much, and that's why I could not wake up in the morning. And they want me to believe in that excuses. So if you have to grow, then we don't have to, we can't just go on making excuses. Same way, when it comes to the spirituality, many people says no to spirituality. And when we ask them, why no to spirituality? They give many excuses. Can you tell me, people in general, what kind of excuses they give for saying, we don't want to take the spirituality? Can you tell me few? If you can have a mic. Yes? very busy with the study. I'm very much occupied with my so much duties, right? I'm very busy. I can't do this now. Okay, yes. Sorry? Age. What? It is not my age to do it now. I will do it in the sometime later, sometime in the future. Okay, yes? Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Yeah. Youth is for the enjoyment. Let me just see the world around, right? And the spirituality later at some time. Yes? Parents are not allowing me. Family members are putting me into certain constraints. I have those family duties to attend to, right? So that's why I can't do it. Yes? Oh, if I do the spirituality for myself, what will the people say? Okay, okay, yes, yes. Okay, I don't, I don't have belief. I only believe on the facts. I only believe in the science, right? I can't believe in something, beliefs and faiths. Okay, yes. Okay. Spirituality, he may take it so seriously that he will just leave everything. Okay. Yes. Okay. I don't want to follow in such an organized manner like you all are doing, pura externals pura tamasha bana ke rakha hai. I just want to follow by heart. I want to follow my heart. I don't want to follow these things. Okay. Yes. So he's saying, I don't have, I don't have any time. Those who have a lot of time, right? They only take up these things. I'm very occupied. I don't have time. No time, right? Okay. Any more? Yes. Oh, we are from the modern age. Yeah, that means we are more scientific. We are more modern, right? We don't believe in all those things. I don't believe on these things. Yes? Okay, it's the same. Sorry. There are some restrictions which I don't want to follow. I want to live free life. Yes? Last in that, yeah. Okay, I will do it in future. I will do it in the future. People say I will do it. Okay, the last one, yes. Sorry? Huh? Okay, work is worship. I don't have to do any of those things, right? Okay. Yes, that's what he said. He also said it. Yes, okay. So why no to spirituality? People have so many excuses to offer. So many excuses to offer. Okay? Now, today we are going to see some of these excuses what people offer, right? And then we'll look into the Bhagavad Gita and the Gita way that how can we understand this? They are really excuses and they are just a justification for somebody to not to practice it. Okay? So our journey is from why no to spirituality to why not to spirituality. So our journey is why no to why not to spirituality. Okay. So are you ready? Shall we start the journey? Okay. So before as I said, we will be speaking from the Gita, and the basis of the Gita, we'll try and understand all these justifications, how they are not valid. So let's say the first excuse, the general one is, I don't have no time. Even the youngest children who is just going in the 4th standard school, he says, time nahi hai mere paas, right? So, so somebody mentioned here, somebody says, जिनके पास समय होता है वो करते हैं. जैसे कि So somebody asked, do you work? I said, no, I left work like, 15 years back. Okay, you don't have any work. You don't have any boss. You don't have any deadlines. I said, no. Okay, then do you have a family, wife, children, kids? I said, no, none of it. Okay, then said, okay, then are you burdened with some duties, like paying some bills and, home loans and so on and so forth? I said, no, I don't have to take care of any of that. Okay. Then he says, that's the reason. I said, why? What? Am I looking happy? That's the reason? Is that the reason you're pointing? He says, that's the reason you can practice spirituality. And not I, because I have to take care of all these things. And I have no time. Okay. Then I said, it's now my turn. Okay. Then I started asking a question. So I asked him, Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Krishna, from Krishna to Arjun. So, was Arjun married? Yes. Did Arjun had a family, kids? Yes. Did Arjun had some duties to perform? Lot many. Yeah, lot many duties. He had a royal duties. He had to take care of such a big praja, right? Did Arjun make his time for the spiritual life? Yes, he did, right? Rather, Arjuna was an emblem of Bhagavad Gita. He was living Bhagavad Gita into his practical life, right? So, and the situation in which the Gita was spoken to him, right? It was not just because of some chance it was spoken to him. Krishna knew most of the people will give this excuse that they don't have time. And that's why he chose somebody like Arjuna, who had he was so much occupied. He didn't have any time, right? But he heard Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna had so many worldly responsibilities. In the middle of the battlefield, there was an intense situations. There were 640 million soldiers were assembled. So many commanders, so many chariots were moving around in a military formation. Everybody's adrenaline was pumping in the war. Everybody was ready to fight. Under so much of pressure, at the climax, Arjuna is in the most stressful situation of his life. That Arjuna who is a supreme archer, there's nobody equal to in his time. Forget about him. There's nobody who is equal to him. That was the supreme archer. All eyes were on Arjuna. What is Arjuna going to do? And Arjuna did something unthinkable. What did he do? He asked Krishna was his driver. He asked Krishna to drive me in the middle. Senayor ubayor madhye ratham sthapitam me achyuta. Take me in the middle of the battlefield. And to the surprise, when he was taken into the battlefield, he was not like to strategize, how do I will fight. But what he was doing was taking a time out to reflect back, to introspect. He was taking a time out for the questions of his life, questioning what he is doing. He took out that time. He stepped back. He put a pause button and was thinking over, right? So Arjuna took a step back to reflect for what is the purpose of life. What are the priorities he was introspecting? So, can anyone say that we have faced more intense and chaotic situation and demanding situation than Arjuna? So many lives the soldiers are on stake, right? In such a situation, what did he do? He pressed a pause button to reflect back. Okay. Most of the people in their life, they deal with the what, how, right? What and hows. But actually in the life, what we have is what, how, and whys, right? Most of us are busy carrying out what's and hows without reflecting back on why. Why am I doing what am I doing? What is a purpose? Why gives us a purpose, right? It is essential for us to clarify our whys, right? Why am I doing this? Why am I searching for this? Why this goal is set for me? Is it just because of peer pressure? Is it just because of my cousin has done it? That's why I have to do it? Why, right? So we may end up doing so many hows and whats, but we should take up time and reflect back on why. That will lead our life in a proper, meaningful way. So Arjuna stopped and was looking for whys. So Krishna, when he spoke Bhagavad Gita, he didn't speak about Arjuna what she should do, but he focused upon why you should do and how you should do. Right? His focus most was on the whys. So when something is so crucial in the life, right, there is no question that somebody says, I don't have a time. You have to make the time. There is no question of I don't have a time. I have to make the time. Let's say you're driving from Mumbai to Goa. You started from Bombay, and in between, your car just stopped. In between, the few kilometers here and at the other end, there is no petrol station and you run out of the petrol. Right? So you stop somebody who is passing by and say, can you help us? And he said, what happened? He says, and you say, okay, my petrol is over. And then he asks natural questions. When you started, didn't you fill up the petrol? You had started for such a long journey? And he says, oh, well, I didn't have a time to fill up the petrol. Sounds silly, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So, it is not a question that you don't have a time. You have to make the time for something important, right? Something so crucial. Same way, let's say, if you are hungry and there's some sabji from the sabji is stored in the refrigerator, and you just started making a sabji, but without cutting it, without boiling it. Will you eat like that? Will it be eaten like that? Aloo to theek hai, agar pumpkin hoga to? And if somebody asks you, why are you eating like this? And you say, I didn't have a time. Come on. If something is so crucial, so central for your life, you have to make your time, right? You don't have a time, you'd have to make your time. Let's say you go to the exam hall and you say that, okay, you go to exam hall for writing an exam, and it says, okay, you didn't write much properly. And somebody asks you, why, what happened? You say, because I didn't have a time to attend the classes. I didn't have time to revise the lessons. Isn't it foolish? You have to make the time for it, right? So, so there is no option of escaping from it. For such important things, for such a crucial things, which matters so much for your life, you have to make the time. You don't have a time. You have to make the time. So, yeah. So, there's a lady who was decorating the cage, a wonderful cage, bird cage, and she decorated with all the golden color and all those things. And she called out the neighbor to see this cage. And when the neighbor came, she was horrified. Horrified? Yeah, because, and then she said, that neighbor said, the cage is so wonderful, but the parrot is dead. What's the purpose of the cage? To keep that parrot. So she said, I was so busy in decorating the cage that I forgot to take care of a parrot. Will that make sense? Actually, no. She should have been caring for the parrot and then decorating. This is what. So we should know what is the purpose, right? We sometimes get caught up into the so much superficial external needs and wants, we forget to take care of our own consciousness, right? So something which is important, we should give a proper time to it, right? So Krishna arranged Bhagavad Gita in such a way that no one can say, I was too busy than Arjuna, that I don't have a time, right? Okay. So we should value our time and we should make the time for something very crucial. Okay. And so when I say value your time and we should take out the time, we should take out the time to reflect back for the purpose of our life. Take some time, like, when the arrow has to be released, what do? You pull it back. When you pull, arrow has to go ahead. But why do we pull it back? We have to sometime in the life take a step back, right? So that's what it means. We have to sometime in the life take a step back and reflect back on the situations, understand the purpose, right? We have to take the time for it. Okay. So there are sometimes urgent things which occupies so much into our schedules, and it becomes just like carrying out to-do task, urgent things, right? But we should also look for something important. If you understand the time matrix, urgent versus important, so most of the people, they occupy their time in carrying out urgent and important. But whereas what we should do is important but not urgent. That's where quadrant we should spend our most of the time. Okay, going ahead. So another excuse. So no time is not a good excuse, right? Krishna is saying you have to make your time and reflect back on the purpose of the life, isn't it? Okay, all of you are with me? Yes. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing, let's see, what is the next excuse people give? When we go on distributing Bhagavad Gita, they say, I already know it. I already have it in my home, I have been from my childhood, I have been reading this Bhagavad Gita, right? So I don't need all these things really, right? Sometimes people say that, okay, they don't know a lot. But let's see, when they are inquired for, what happens?
राम और लक्ष्मण कितने भाई थे?
4
दो ओके 4
2 भाई थे, पता नहीं 2 ही थे।
4 भाई थे, राम लक्ष्मण भरत और एक और।
कंस और रावण में क्या रिश्ता था?
भाई थे दोनों। हाँ, कजन्स थे। नहीं, ये नहीं पता मुझे।
कंस और रावण में क्या संबंध था? आई डोंट नो।
दोस्त होंगे, दोनों दुश्मन थे।
दुश्मन का।
कंस किसके मामा थे?
रावण के।
कंस दुर्योधन के।
भीम किस में थे? रामायण में, महाभारत?
रामायण। छोटा भीम।
दुर्योधन रावण के बड़े भाई थे, छोटे?
दुर्योधन भाई, छोटा भाई था।
कंस को किसने मारा था?
राम ने।
राम ने।
कंस को किसने मारा था?
भीम ने। नहीं, हाँ भीम ने।
कुंती कौन थी? कुंती
राम की माँ।
शूर्पणखा दुर्योधन की बहन थी या पत्नी?
कौन? सरपणा।
दुर्योधन की बहन थी या पत्नी?
सरपणा उसकी बहन थी।
गांधारी और द्रौपदी में क्या रिश्ता था?
गांधारी भाई था द्रौपदी का।
गांधारी कौन थी तो?
गांधारी कंस की बहन।
So this is not a foreign land, this is India. Just for your knowledge, right? So, people think that they know, but actually they don't know. So, okay. When we understand Arjuna, he was nurtured into a very cultured family, right? Who could have been knowing the dharma, following his duties more than Arjuna? He was having access to so many great sages. He was hearing the spiritual instructions from them. Not only great sages, but Bhishma Dev, Yudhishthir, and forget all about that. His very close companion was Lord Krishna himself. So Arjuna was pious, right? So Arjuna knew all the intricacies of dharma and everything. Who could have been a better knower of dharma than Arjuna, right? Of that times. Yes, he was for sure was knowing so well. But in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is very indecisive. He's confused. And he says to Krishna, Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prushyami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yashesyan nishitam bruhitan me shishyasteham sadhi mam tvam prapanna. He says, I'm very confused. I'm very indecisive. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I need your help, Krishna. I am confused. I don't know. Please give the answer because I don't know. I want to become Shishyasteham. I want to become your student. Please, oh teacher, answer me because I don't know. So, somebody, Arjuna, who knew so much of dharma, but he takes a humble position and asks to Krishna that I don't know, please inform me. You know, well said by Socrates. Wisdom is that I know, I don't know. I know, I don't know, right? So generally people, they say they know very little, but they think they know a lot, right? So wise people will always say, actually, I don't know that much, right? That's what the wise people will say. You know, somebody who goes to the more and more to the higher studies, the scope of their knowledge becomes more and more narrower. Like somebody who's doing a PhD, the scope of his knowledge becomes more and more narrower and narrower and narrower. I'll give some example. One of my friend, his mother was sick, got him admitted because she was quite a regular, sickness was from the last 2 years, and seems like she had a kidney issue. So they were addressing it to the one nephrologist. And they went to the nephrologist, and this time her hands were like curled, getting like curved, curved, and it's not moving properly. So they were a little fearful, and they got admitted under that nephrologist kidney. So nephrologist saw all that things, and he was as trained into kidney. He said, okay, because the kidneys are not functioning, and that's why there's a water retention into the heart, and that's why the heart function is going down, and that's why the brain activity is also going down, and that's why all these things are happening, neural and heart related issues, because of the main issue is kidney. And these relatives, and he was administrating on the kidney, but nothing was going ahead. It is rather going down and down. So, this my friend, he started consulting on the phone on some other doctors. And he said, okay, this means there must be a deficiency in calcium. And then he came back to the doctor and said, doctor, do you think this is because of the deficiency of calcium? And he says, no, it's not that way. Then he Googled these symptoms, and Google also said, following the same line, deficiency in calcium. And he again came back to the doctor. Doctor, do you think the calcium deficiency? And doctor said, no, it is because of the kidney only, right? And it went on, and doctor, rather he justified, I'm giving the one injection which will balance all the sorts, like a calcium, potassium, NaCl, sodium, and all these things, chlorine, all these will be balanced. We have given that injection, so you don't have to worry. And then it went so bad that mother got admitted to ICU. As soon as they shifted to the ICU doctor there, they watched and this is a calcium deficiency. And they immediately checked for the calcium test. It was so down, and they immediately administered some calcium. And immediately within few hours, she started feeling good, right? The point, what I'm saying is, sometimes somebody is so specialized into that area, his knowledge becomes so narrower and narrower. They know a lot about something little. They don't really take the bigger picture. But mistakenly, they think that they know all. They know all, right? But it is a wisdom actually to know that what I don't know and ask for the help. Ask for the help. That's a humility, right? So we should ask for the help. So, that area which you don't know, to address that, what you need is a humility. Yes, that's a humility. That humility is nothing but the willingness and open-heartedness. Willingness to accept somebody as a superior, accept somebody as a teacher, and open-heartedness to accept that advice. So that is the excuse generally people give. I already know it. And sometimes that shows a tendency of being proud. What they call, he's a full of it. He's a full of it means he's a proud. Full of it means there is no scope of giving him something more. He's full of it, right? Because of the proud, he has blocked all his inputs. I already know it, right? So sometimes, as in vivas, vivas, oral exams. Sometimes that too in a technical oral exam, engineering vivas. People have like a very wonderful conversation sometimes. And as I say, most of the inventions are not done in the labs, but they are done in the vivas. So my friend, he went to the viva and he was so happy coming back. And he said, what happened? And he said me, okay, this examiner, that oral, the teacher who was taking the oral, he asked me, if you mix these two chemicals, what will happen? I replied, if you mix these two chemicals, the heat will be generated and the substance will be like a rubber-like substance and it will release a poisonous gas. And he was so confident, it was all wrong. The teacher was also like shocked. He was speaking in so much in confidence. He also wanted to check the book, turn the pages and see the book. Is it really? So sometimes people have such a full confidence on themselves, but rather, as a student, we should be. So there are two students who went to the Mridanga teacher. So the Mridanga teacher, for the first one, he asked. So he said, okay, sir, I want to learn the Mridanga from you. And the teacher asked, do you know any Mridanga? He said, no, I don't know any of the Mridanga. I have to start from all the basics. He says, okay, I charge you 700 rupees. He said, okay. And he asked for the next student. And he said, yeah, actually, I know a little bit of Mridanga. And I know a few beats, so I can play that. And then teacher said, okay, then I charge you 1200. He says, why? Why so more for me? And then teacher replied, because you already know something, I need to wipe your slate. I need to wipe your slate to rewrite something better. Is that it? So as a student, we need to take that humble position, right? A blank slate means I don't know what I don't know, right? So accepting that I don't know life will begin opening up. That humble stance will help you to acquire better knowledge, isn't it? So, really speaking, is that a good excuse somebody gives? I know all that. The depth of spiritual matters are far deep. Arjuna was chosen, again, out of all the Pandava armies, Arjuna was chosen. Why? Because the Arjuna was the most successful person. He was at the height. There is nobody who can be as skilled as Arjuna. He was the most, he has reached that heights nobody could compete with, right? So Krishna chose him to make all of us understand that even though you may have achieved so many heights, still you will not be happy, and still you will have two questions, right? And that's what it shows. So this is not a good excuse. And if somebody knows it, what he should do? If somebody really knows, then what he should do? What he should do? Share, right? Share that knowledge with the others, right? So if somebody knows, then you should share that knowledge. So saying that I already know is not a good excuse. Okay, let's understand the third excuse. I have so many duties. I have so many responsibilities, right? I have so many things to focus upon, right? My mind is occupied with so many concerns. I can't take up to the spirituality, right? There's many times people give this kind of justifications. So yes, we do have, or many of you have multiple duties, multiple responsibilities. You have many different roles to play. You have to change so many hats, right? Sometimes as a student, sometimes as a son, sometimes as a worker, sometimes as a friend, sometimes as a leader. So many duties somebody has to play. And sometimes these roles appears conflicting to each other, isn't it? अगर इसको खुश करेंगे तो वो नाराज हो जाएंगे, राइट? फैमिली सिचुएशन तो बहुत बार ऐसे होता है ना? So I cannot fulfill the demands of so many responsibilities, and on top of it spirituality, I can't do this, right? So if I please one, other gets other feels he is put down, right? So damn if you do it, damn if you don't do it. I'm caught up in these situations. I can't take this. Arjuna also gave the same arguments initially. He said, Krishna, I'm convinced I should follow spirituality. Krishna, I'm convinced that I should have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. But right now in the battlefield, I have so many dharmas to follow, so many duties to follow. I have a Kula Dharma. Kula Dharma is a family duty. I have a Kshatriya Dharma. What it means is I should fight as a warrior. I am a Pati Dharma, right? I am a husband. I am a father to somebody. I have so many dharma which are conflicting here. Krishna says, okay, too many duties. Okay, don't worry. Live a balanced and integrated life. A balanced and integrated life. Yes, these are the duties based upon the body, mind, and different skills which you are talking about. But you also have a duty, that is your duty of your soul. That's a Sanatana Dharma. Sanatan means eternal, and Dharma is a duty. That eternal duty of yours is for the soul. You do have that duty, right? So that Sanatan Dharma means actually connecting with the Supreme Lord. So Krishna said, while you carry out all such duties, you also have to take care of spiritual dharma, right? That's the ultimate dharma. Right? He says, Tatsma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. You have to follow this duty of connecting with the Supreme, right? Even on the battlefield. So when somebody is wise in the life, what he does, When somebody is wise, that means he has realized that how can he cater to the so many different dharmas. And then he understands the dharmas are not actually competing, but they are complementing with each other. How you integrate that, right? And that with the more with the spirituality into the focus. Okay. So these dharmas are not actually conflicting. Arjuna said, do you want me to follow the duty of a king or be a spiritualist? Krishna said, be a spiritual king. Okay, Arjuna said, okay, do you want me to follow be a duty of a husband or you want me to be a spiritual? Krishna said, be a spiritual husband. Arjuna said, okay, do I follow the duty of a father or do I be a spiritual? Krishna said, be a... Exactly. You have got that. So, be a spiritual father. Sometimes what we do, we box. This is my Krishna consciousness and this is my the life's duties, right? We box it and we keep it separate, compartmentalized it, right? But it's not that way. Rather, it is works in a very integrated way. So it says, Bhagavatam says, Dharma sanushtita pumsa vishvaksena katasuyet notpadayate yatiratim shama evahi kevalam. All these dharmas actually ultimately lead to the greater attraction for the Lord. When you carry out this dharma in an integrated manner, in a balanced manner, focusing, keeping the center of spiritual vision, then it becomes all complementing to each other, not competing with each other, right? So in my early days, one of my mentors used to say, आपको छोड़ना कुछ नहीं है, बस जोड़ना है कृष्ण के साथ, right? That's so easy as that. So, okay. So the question is, okay, then how can I make my work, my duties as a worship? How can I make my work as a worship? Yes, there is a possibility. How can you spiritualize your work? Gita talks about three formulas. First is, be righteous. Carry out the righteous work. That means don't engage into the exploitative, violence and harmful and dishonesty and disruptive work, right? Right. So, but you see, nowadays, most of the activities are tainted with so many faults. But still, a spiritualist, nonetheless, he should strive for something which promotes more harmony, compassion, and upliftment. Okay, that's one thing, righteous work. Second is results. He should offer the results to the God. Now, what does that mean? Yes, he should offer in the form of some denominations, in the form of skills, in the form of some knowledge, the expertise, and the influence he has in his field. He should offer that, right? That is offering the results, right? So that will build a lot of selflessness into him. That selflessness will come. So first is righteous work. Second is results, offer it to the God. And third is remembrance while we carry out our work. Like, we should remember the God. Like newly married couples, when they are, wherever they are, like, at the workplace or in between of the meetings or sometimes, what they think of is each other a lot, right? Isn't it? Same way. While you carry out all that work, while you are engaged in so many duties, you can still remember the God. And the practical way is, okay, keep a desktop of Lord Shri Krishna, right? Talk to your colleagues something about Gita, right? Enlighten them something more, right? Isn't it? So in that way, we can spiritualize our work, okay? So saying that I have so many responsibilities, I can't take up to it, is not a good idea, because this can be integrated. You can have a balanced life, right? And rather, it will not compete, but it will complement to the all other your duties. You can do it in a more focused way. Okay. Okay, so this is not a good excuse, Krishna says. Okay. So let's see, the next excuse is, philosophy is very heavy for me. Yeah. Here, if you're talking about, I'm not that philosopher kind of type. I'm not that intelligent enough. I read the books, but I can't understand them. These books are like a good solution when I'm not feeling sleepy, so that I can go to the sleep soon, right? So this knowledge is beyond me. I don't understand Sanskrit. I'm not a good reader. So, okay, I'm not good at this. I'm not intelligent enough to understand this. So, okay. So when somebody says that, Krishna has said into the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how does this knowledge actually comes down? Okay. Somebody says, okay, I don't have good intellect. Okay. He says, okay, how does this knowledge comes down, how it is received, and what is the qualification to receive this knowledge? He says, Savayavam mayatedya yoga prokta puratana bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam eti uttamam. He says, this knowledge is very confidential, but this knowledge is very easy to grasp. And what is the qualification? Qualification, you should be doctor, you should be engineer, you should be CA. Oh, okay, none of this. Okay, he says none of these is actually qualification, right? You just have to be bhakto sime sakha cheti. You just have to be, so this is not any qualification required. What you need is actually bhakto simi. You become my devotee, and sakha, you be friendly to me, right? In other words, there is no intellectual measure for us to take up to the spirituality. There is no intellectual measure, there is no intellectual qualification. The two things only mentioned is you become a devotee. That means in your heart you understand Krishna, and be friendly. That means not be envious of his position. Not to be envious, right? Be free from the envy. These are the two characters by which you can understand Krishna. So you don't have to actually intellectually, there is no qualification or there is not much intellect required for understanding, for taking up the spirituality. Okay. Somebody said to the Prabhupada was visiting, there were some visitors who had come, and there was some Indian gentleman who came, and he said, Prabhupada, I can recite whole Bhagavad Gita into 45 minutes. And Prabhupada replied to him back and said, but can you leave Bhagavad Gita for 45 minutes? Right? So what is the more important is not to memorize these verses, memorize this, add up so much of information, right? Information, but no transformation. But actually transform that message into the heart. That is the essence of that knowledge, right? So therefore, no one can say that I'm not intelligent enough to take to the spiritual life, right? Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was visiting South India, there was one illiterate Brahmana who was reading through Bhagavad Gita. Now he's illiterate, he doesn't know how to read, but he was going through the Bhagavad Gita, and everybody was making a joke around him. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood what is the matter. Then he inquired to him and understood that he doesn't understand, he cannot read Bhagavad Gita, but still the tears are flowing through his eyes. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, what's the reason? Like, you can't understand, but what's that, how is that such emotions has coming into your heart? He said, actually while reading the Bhagavad Gita, I can't read, but when I understand, is a Partha Sarthi Krishna, that is Krishna who has become a chariot driver for his dear devotee Arjuna. So when I understand this bonding, when I understand how Lord Shri Krishna is taking care of his devotees, and that relationship has evoked this emotion in my heart. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, you have understood the essence of Gita, even though you are illiterate, but you have understood essence of Gita. Because it says, love is a supreme, and that's the last word in the transcendence. If all from the Vedic text, what you need to understand is to love to the Supreme. And that essence you have understood, right? Otherwise, there could be many scholars who may be reading big books, but it is like a honey bottle. Can you taste the honey bottle from outside? Licking it outside? Can you? It is exactly like that. You have to live by it, then you understand this knowledge. Not just intellectually, right? So saying that I don't have a good intelligence to understand Bhagavad Gita, and that's why I cannot take to the spirituality, is not a good excuse. Krishna says that, right? So rather, he says, if somebody start practicing spirituality, dadami buddhi yogam tam. He says, somebody who is practicing spirituality, I give them intelligence. I give them intelligence when somebody start practicing spirituality. One example I will tell you. There was one Peter who was staying in Boston, and he joined the temple. He started residing in temple. And that time Giriraj Maharaj was staying in a temple. And they saw Peter, he was just lying around the hallways, always sleeping. It was like a disturbance for them because the people are coming in and out and they're seeing this lazy bum just lying in. So they used to call him Crazy Peter. They call him Crazy Peter. And they were thinking, how can we get rid of him? They wrote to Prabhupada what to do with him. And Prabhupada said, cannot you tolerate him? And Prabhupada wrote back, cannot you tolerate him? And they said, okay, all right. And then he went on to go to the New York and then to the West Virginia temple. That's a new Vrindavan. And later, few years later, Giriraj Maharaj happened to go on to one temple in USA. And he saw the person who is doing Aarti was the same, Crazy Peter. And he said, oh, he survived for so long? He survived for so long. And then he inquired, how is he been doing? He said, his name had become, he got a Kushakrita Prabhu. And Giriraj Maharaj was shocked. He's a Kushakrita Prabhu? His initiated name, spiritual name, Kushakrita Prabhu. Because Giriraj Maharaj knew who is a Kushakrita Prabhu. Kushakrita Prabhu was the one who translated so many Sanskrit and Bengali literature into English. That Crazy Peter went on to become the Kushakrita Prabhu who translated so many books from Sanskrit to the English. Just see, right? So intellect is not a qualification to come to the spirituality. Yes? Krishna clarifies this. So this is not a good excuse, right? So somebody says that's not a good excuse. Let's see. The next excuse generally people give is, I prefer to do something practically to help the world. I want to practically help the world, right? I don't think Gita is my priority, right? Because we need to do something for the world which is suffering so much. You people are just singing, dancing and chanting, So how will this help the world, The world is suffering. There have been so many, there was a corona this time. The war is going on. What are we really doing for it? So better I focus my energy to practically help the world, and I don't want to take the spirituality. Okay. So that's an excuse. Because yes, somebody may want to do that, but Krishna says in the 5th chapter, he says, if you trace back all the problems of the world, what are the phenomena happening on this world? If you trace back to the root cause, what you see is they are all happening because of lack of spiritual vision. Because there is a lack of spiritual vision, and therefore there are so many problems and issues in this world. And he says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunicheva Shwapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. He says, Vidya, when you acquire the spiritual knowledge, what happens is Vinaya. That means one become humble. So the combination of a knowledge and humility, and then you become a a pandita, become a pandita, and that pandita who has a samadarshina, who has a spiritual vision. That one will have a spiritual vision, right? It's like, with that spiritual vision, he don't just see the externals, but he can see the all internals. Like a matrix. Somebody who has acquired that vision, he can just see the zeros and ones everywhere, right? Just a jokes apart. So Samadarshina, that Samadarshina, he will see even a Brahmana, even a dog, even a cow, even an elephant, even a low-caste person with the same vision, because he sees not the externals, but he sees the soul inside. That's a science of soul. He will respect the life. So all the life should be respected. When we see the soul, all the life should be respected. Not just the animal life, but even the whole nature should be respected. So Srila Prabhupada, once he saw there was a construction happening in Juhu, and when he visited the next time, he saw one of the tree was cut off because of there was so much constructions and they were taking so many trucks. And he inquired what happened. They said, Prabhupada, there are so many trucks moving in and out, and this tree was just a botheration for it. So that's why we cut that out. And Prabhupada said, why? That's also a jiva. That's also has a soul. And he didn't like that idea. And based upon his instructions, even now if you go to the ISKCON temple in Juhu and ISKCON temple in Vrindavan, in the middle of the temple, in that courtyard, you see the tree there. It is not being cut. It was a small tree that time, but it has now grown up so much. Because when somebody has a spiritual vision, he sees the soul. He doesn't want to even harm. Forget about the human, forget about the animals. He doesn't want to harm any nature also, right? So that is a vision of a spiritualist, right? So somebody who has developed this vision, he cannot be harming. Rather, he will be benefiting the whole world. So Prabhupada had made the point that you cannot have the world peace. People are coming with so much of propaganda for the world peace, but you cannot come up with a world peace if you cannot stop the killing of animals. If you cannot stop the slaughterhouses, there cannot be world peace. At one time you are cutting the life, and you are talking and raising the slogans of world peace, stop the wars. How can, right? You have to respect them as a soul. Okay, another time, Prabhupada was in a zoo. He's going to the zoo, and there were a few of his sannyasi disciples going around. And one of the sannyasi disciples, he was just passing by the cage of a lion, and he was poking him, right? Just making him some disturbance. And Prabhupada turned back and says, don't do that. Respect the position what he has. Even though somebody is in the cage, the lion is in the cage, but you respect the position of his. He is a king of a jungle. Right now he may be caught into the cage, but respect that position. Somebody who has acquired that spiritual vision, he sees even that species which is inimical to us, right? But he sees the soul with him, right? So you want to make a peace with him, right? So that is a real peace formula. Prabhupada says, this is a real peace formula. Having a spiritual vision is a real peace formula, So there was, in a British rule, there were many cobras in Delhi. And so much cobras was moving around, and the Britishers, they didn't like. So they devised one scheme. They said that anyone who catches this cobra will give them good remunerations, will give them good bounty. Bounty for a dead cobra. Get us a dead cobra, we'll give a good bounty. And then people started killing the snakes, cobras, and taking their prize money, taking their awards. But what happened in due course of time is people started breeding cobras, right? Generating more cobras so that they can kill it later and take more money. So the government that time realized, oh, okay, all these things is going on. They scrapped the scheme. But when they scrapped the scheme, and then these people started thinking, oh, okay, now these snakes are of no use, let us release these snakes. The problem got multiplied, right? So what happens is, the point I'm saying is, when we try to solve the problem, right, with the worldly mentalities, right, it will not lead to a proper solutions. It will create some problems, right? So artificial solutions fails to address the root cause of the problem, right? But rather, it actually aggravates that problem more and more, right? So somebody has said that mentality of materialism cannot solve the problems. It needs a proper spiritual vision. Then we can solve the problems. So if somebody says he really wants to, he has a passion to help out the world, right? And that passion is good, but that passion needs to be guided by a compass, a proper direction. That's a spiritual vision. When that passion is directed by that compass, then it becomes a compassion, right? Then there is a world peace is possible, right? So somebody says that I prefer to do practical help out to the world, but actually that is not a good excuse, right? Krishna says to have a spiritual vision is a better you can do, so much better you can do for the world. Okay, let's see what the next excuse is. I can't focus. I am too active, right? I'm so much active. I cannot sit down. I cannot sit down for a 1 hour 1 hour long class. And some of you are already like moving around, right? I can't sit down and meditate for an hour. When I open the book, right, I fall sleepy. I can't read it. Too many things are going in my mind. Spirituality is not my cup of tea. It is not my cup of herbal tea. Okay, so it is not me who can do it. So I'm too active. I can't just focus upon it. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, he says, okay, practically everybody in this world is like this. Everybody is too hyperactive. Their mind is like a potentially very disruptive. And he says, Chanchalahi mana Krishna pramati balvadridam. He says, Chanchala, the mind is restless. Is restless like a child, so unsteady, right? Is restless. Chanchalahi mana Krishna pramati is madly agitated, like a mad person is disconnected from the reality. He goes really mad. Pramati, balvat, he's very powerful, very strong. He bullies you. Mind bullies you. Very strong. Pramati, balvat, dridam is very obstinate. Ziddi. Hindi mein bolte hain ziddi, right? So, like a Ravana, he was very ziddi. Even though there are so many indications that this is not good for you. You're following certain things, but they are not good for you. You want Sita, but that's not good for you. There are so many indications. So many soldiers, commanders, even his son died, but he didn't give up that. That's called as obstinate, ziddhi. So mind is like that. Combination of all these things, chanchal, pramati, balvad, dridam, that makes mind extremely dangerous, isn't it? Krishna says, yes, it is very difficult to control the mind. Arjuna says, I can control even the wind, but I cannot control the mind. That's how it is difficult. Yes, Krishna agrees to it. He doesn't deny. He says, yes, everybody's mind has that potential to disrupt. But then he says, okay. He says, okay, do you say, is it good to say that I will satisfy my hunger and then I will go to the restaurant? Is it a good way to say? Tell me. Okay. Is it a good way to say that when I start feeling better, then I will go to the clinic? Doesn't make sense, right? When I know the subject matter well, then I will purchase the book. Will you say that? No, right? So, Rather, you go to such a places for what? To understand, to get more from it, right? Not that you fulfill it and then you go there, right? Not otherwise, right? The same way, when our mind is very chaotic, right? It is not that when our mind is very chaotic, we don't say like, when my mind will go calms down, then I will start practicing spirituality. Rather, you start practicing spirituality and then your mind will calm down, right? So this is not actually a good excuse which Krishna says. So all of us are having certain baggages, all of us have certain conditionings which mind again and again chew upon. But we can reconfigure it. When you get a mobile, it has certain settings, right? It comes with its own settings. But does that mean that you have to just follow that settings? No. You can change the settings of your phone. Yes? Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki. So you can change the settings of your mobile phone, right? You can rewire it. Same way. Mind is meant for something like that, but you can rewire it. You can start controlling the mind. How do you control the mind? Krishna says a formula. He says, Abhyasena and Vairagya. So he says, by practice, that means absorb something in a positive and neglect all the negative phenomena. He says, feed your good dog and starve your bad dog. And that's where you can control your mind. You can discipline your mind. So somebody who says that, okay, I can't focus, my mind is too active, that is not a good excuse, right? Because we don't calm down the mind and then practice spirituality, but rather we practice spirituality and the mind, we absorb something in a better and detach with the negative phenomena. And that's how we can start controlling our mind. Okay, so that is not a good excuse. Okay, let's see. Another excuse that people give is, I trust only facts and not on the faith. What it means to say is, I only believe in science. I only believe on the facts. I don't believe in a faith. I don't believe in so many beliefs. I don't believe in spirituality. I don't believe in a non-tangible things. And at last, I don't believe on myself. Okay. So, Krishna starts speaking about this. He says, actually speaking, in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, he has given, if somebody wants to understand the knowledge, he speaks in the chapter, knowledge of absolute. If somebody wants to know him in full, then what he should do? Maya sakta manapartha yogam yunjun madashraya asamshayam samagram va yatha jnasasi tat shrunu. He says, follow the yoga of hearing. Yoga of hearing. What is it? Just by hearing, by practicing the yoga in full consciousness of me, you will know me in full. Krishna says, you will know me in full and you will be free from all the doubts, right? So God is not just a belief. Krishna consciousness is not just a vows to believe in the God, but Krishna consciousness is a process. That will equip us to understand God, that will empower us to connect with the God, to perceive the God into our own life, right? That is called as a spiritual science. And conventional discourses, if you go to the religious discourses, it starts with the beliefs and ends with the beliefs, right? But actually Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual science. Prabhupada presented Bhagavad Gita as it is. He didn't present it as a religious ritualistic book. No, he presented it as a spiritual science, right? And there's one book by Prabhupada, Science of Self-Realization. So it's a proper science. What that spiritual science is? It says, we hear, first thing we start is, hear the spiritual science. From here we acquire, then, sorry, then we observe the phenomena around the world, what we heard, what is followed in the world. We see in the world what is the spiritual science is. Then you start practicing it. That means you start applying into your life. And when you start applying into your life, you get an experience. You get a realization. And once you get realization, what do? You start sharing with others. Right? I'll give you an example for this. Let's say you heard of, there is a one cream which can remove the scar. You heard of it. Starts with the hearing. Okay. And then you observe. First is hearing, then observe. You observe that one of your friend, he applied it and his scar was fading away. And you're observing him day by day, the scar is fading away. And you read some reviews, so you're observing, right? Third thing is you buy it and you start applying it, right? So you start practicing it, right? You start practicing that cream. And what are the regulations told how to apply that cream? Start practicing it. And the fourth thing is you get experience. Slowly, you start finding the difference. Slowly, that scar is going away, fading away, right? You are experiencing it, right? You have realized it. It works. And when you know it works, what will you do? Fifth thing is you will share with others. This is how the spiritual science works. Hearing, observing, practicing, experience, and sharing, right? That's the hopes, right? So spiritual science starts with that initial faith you have to pose into. And then when you apply it, practice it, experience it, you'll get better. You'll get better. That is the spiritual science. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about the spiritual science, so people say that the science is a fact and the spirituality is a faith. It's just a faith. Is it? No. Actually, faith is also into the science, the modern science. That faith in the modern science is called as axiomatic truth. Axiomatic truth. Now, what's that? Okay. So, what is the axiomatic truth? It's like imaginary number square root of -1. You heard of it? Okay. Now, just understand. Let's understand the square root -1. Okay. When I say 5 rupees are with me, that means I can practically show you like a 5 rupees I have with me. Okay. When I say a 0, I have 0 rupees. That means how can I explain 0? I empty my pockets, right? There's nothing. How I experience -1? Can I see -1? Can I see -1? So that is the axiomatic truth mathematics follow. Okay? That axiomatic truth that cannot be proved, that is to be assumed. Square root of -1 is called as imaginary numbers and it is used into so many theorems. It is used into so many calculations and theorems. And that application, it is assumed that square root of -1 exists, and that application, we derive so many theorems, and we use it into the thermodynamics. I am a computer science student. I used it into the image processing. You see the image processing? So many phenomena in image processing. But we use a Fourier series and Z transform which are based on square root of -1. What is it? Imaginary number. That imaginary number, which itself says it is a imaginary. So science also uses some faith. That is called as axiomatic truth, right? So they also have faith. Rather, in the world around us, we have to apply some level of faith. Here or there, we have to apply some level of faith. In the science also, there is a faith. So in spirituality is also a faith. You don't need much faith into practicing spirituality, right? It's just that much faith to follow the science, to understand a Big Bang theory. That much faith you need to take up the spirituality, right? Okay. I hope you understand what I mean. So spirituality also, we have axiomatic truth. Soul cannot be seen, but what we that is accepted as an axiomatic truth, cannot be seen. But when somebody start putting up a faith, that initial faith, and start practicing spirituality, then he experiences it. Then he experiences it. In the ninth chapter, Krishna says, Pratyaksha avagamam dharmyam susukham kartum. Pratyaksha avagamam. It is self-realized. When you start practicing it, you try and understand it more and more depth. That is a spiritual science. That is a direct perception. So it is not a blind faith. It is a axiomatic truth. So it is a fact as much as science uses that facts. All right? Okay. So somebody who says, I follow science, I just follow the facts. So that is not a right excuse. Okay. So it is not a good excuse. Okay. So, okay. Let's move ahead. If somebody says, okay, I will do it in a future. आज करे सो कल कर, कल करे सो परसों, इतनी भी जल्दी क्या है प्यारे, जब बड़े हैं बरसों. So tomorrow is very mystical land. You see, tomorrow never comes. We postpone our studies to the PL, we postpone our studies to the last day of the exam, and then we look for somebody who knows the subject better and tell him, क्रैश कोर्स देगा क्या थोड़ा एक नाइट में, 1 घंटे में पूरा सब्जेक्ट पढ़ा दे, जब पासिंग करा दे, राइट? सो tomorrow actually never comes. So actually we fall a victim for actually laziness and procrastination. Death is just around the corner, and this body is like a ticking it, right? When it will reach, we don't know. Some of our devotees were driving to the crematorium for some, why somebody will go for the crematorium? Somebody's death, right? So they were driving to the crematorium, and they could not able to locate it. So they were using what? GPS, Google Map, right? And it was directing them. They reached near to the crematorium, and they're looking for the parking space as directed by GPS. They went to the parking space. As they parked, GPS said, you have reached your final destination. That was crematorium, right? So the death is, so truth in that lines. Death can come at any point of time. We are always ticking. So somebody may say that, okay, I don't want to take the spirituality later. I will come back to the spirituality. And death says, okay, I'm coming to you. But I'm coming to you too, right? So it's just a sheer laziness, Stat says 72% of the people, they didn't write their will and they left this world. What does it mean? Death is so unpredictable, isn't it? Time can come at any point of time. When it asks to the spirituality, young people says, I'm too young for it. Oldie says, Mera to zindagi chala gaya. I'm too old for it, right? And everyone in between says, yes, I will do someday. But is there a someday into the week? Sunday to Saturday? Is there a someday? It never happens, right? So that approach is very dangerous. Tomorrow is never going to come, right? So people think that the success is overnight, but success is not overnight. Do you really feel the success is overnight? One of my relatives started saying that this young boy, just in his college days, he developed a an app successfully. Just see. The success looks like overnight success. But what they don't know is, before developing this successful app, he tried the 15 apps which were failed, right? Isn't it? So success is always incremental. Installments mein aata hai success, right? So when somebody starts practicing in a spiritual life, when they start practicing, then they can achieve the success. But the every day is what they are doing that will count. Every day what they are doing is count. And at the time of death, it will pay them. It will pay them so much reward, that reward will be out of this world. Okay. You know, enemy of the growth, one of the enemies of the growth is laziness. We are so lazy and we procrastinate always. We procrastinate. However, we know that it is good for me, but we just procrastinate. So there are two farmers, and one of the farmer, he thought of, his name was Ajay. Let's say his name was Ajay. He thought of, okay, there are no rains in the last year, and the IMD has declared that there is very less rain. My crop will dry. So let me construct a canal from the river to my field. And as he thought, he immediately went with his spade and started continuing the canal. In between was a noon time. Wife was calling, come for the lunch. And he said, okay, I'm coming. I can't come, you come. She got the lunch, he got the lunch, and soon after finishing the lunch, he continued the work. It went late to the evening. But he was so determined to finish it. Till night 11 o'clock, he finished that canal, and then he came back to the home. The neighboring friend, Vijay, who also thought over, okay, now my crops will also die. His farm is flourishing. My crops will die. So I should also construct the canal. Tomorrow. He started, okay, let me do it tomorrow. Something another came on, and canal was never completed, and by that time, all the crops dried up, right? So saying that the tomorrow I will do it, in future I will do it, the tomorrow will never come. Somebody says, कल भजे तो आज भजे सो अब, दो पल में प्रलय आ जाएगा, फिर भजेगा. Yes. So this is also a not good excuse, saying that I will do it in the future. Okay, now I have a few more things listed down, but we'll stop here. Can we revise it? What was the first one? I don't have a time. What does the Krishna says? No, even Arjuna, in the middle of the battlefield, he took out his time. He made his time and reflected back. What was the second excuse? I already know it. So, what is the answer? So, Arjuna, even though knowing so much, but he took a humble position and trying to learn from Krishna, right? Okay. What is the third? I have so many responsibilities. That's why I cannot take up the spirituality. But what is the solution? Live an integrated and a balanced life. All these dharmas and duties are not competing with each other, but they are actually complementing with each other. What is the fourth excuse? I don't have that intellect to understand. Philosophy is very heavy. I'm not a philosopher type, that kind of person. What does Krishna says? And you don't need that intellectual qualifications. You just have to be a devotee. Be friendly. Don't be envious. Be free from envy. And that's how you can take up the spirituality. What's the fifth excuse? Sorry? I want to practically help the world. What does the Krishna says? What does the Krishna says? All the root cause of all the bad things happening in this world is because of lack of spiritual vision. If you develop the spiritual vision, then there will be a greater peace on this world. That's a peace formula for this world, right? That's how you can help the world in a more better way. Okay. Sixth, can't focus. Okay, can't focus or too active. What does Krishna says? Chanchal hai mana Krishna. Yes, everybody's mind is like that, but because your mind is so unsteady, that's why you don't come to the spirituality. Nobody says, I will satisfy my hunger and then we'll go to the restaurant, right? Okay. What's the seventh one? Sorry? I trust only the facts and science, right? But Krishna says, what I'm speaking is a spiritual science, right? With a axiomatic truth, right? Okay. What's the eighth one? I will do it in future. Krishna says, death is just ticking up, right? Tomorrow never comes, right? So discard that laziness and take up to the spirituality. So all these are just excuses, but we should practice and take up to the spirituality with the whole heart. There should be one thing you should need is a desire to do it. What somebody lacks is desire. So somebody who has a desire will keep aside all these excuses. And Krishna has explained in all these chapters of 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has explained, and actually he kind of rejected all such excuses and giving us such a wonderful spiritual life, right? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much. So let us express our gratitude to Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu for sharing these bits of wisdoms with all of us. Feeding our good dog and starving our bad dog. Helping us to understand spirituality is not the competitor to our responsibilities, duties, and the work in this world, but it is complementing our duties, responsibilities, and roles what we are playing. And rewiring our mind, that is the most important thing. And all this wisdom nuggets, what he shared, is very useful. And I hope, and definitely I am fully trusting this, that now onwards you won't have any other excuse to practice spirituality. Are you agreeing with me or not? Yes. So let us express our gratitude to Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So there are few announcements. As you all know that no event is completed without helping hands. Similarly, same for the Prerna event too. Today's Prerna event has been arranged and helped by various devotees, various preachers and boys of those preachers. So today for subject cutting seva, Sachusucharan Prabhu, Krishna Gaur Prabhu and some Matajis from Varli. So Sachusucharan Prabhu and Krishna Gaur Prabhu's boys, they helped in subject cutting the prasadam what you are going to have. For evening services, for temple hall arrangement, plate cleaning and managing all other sevas, Prem Kishore Prabhu and Vrajesh Krishna Prabhu, Leela Shuk Prabhu and Shrikant Krishna Prabhu's group, they came forward and arranged and managed the whole show. So let us express them our gratitude by loudly chanting Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. We would like to welcome our guest today evening. So we have with us Professor Dasharath Kale, who is professor at Don Bosco College, Dr. Vishnu Nandalle, Senior Doctor, Saurabh Nima, Scientific Officer at BARC, Dr. R. Sudhakar Raj, Professor at SLWS College, and Rohit Jaipuria, a businessman. Would like to welcome and express our gratitude for taking out your time and spending your time here. So let us express our gratitude to this esteemed guest by loudly chanting Hari Bo, Haribo. Haribo. So next prerna we are going to have on 15th of April, and it will be given by His Grace Rasikacharya Prabhu. Finally, would like to welcome those boys, those devotees who have come very first time to the Prerna festival and this temple. I request all of you, those who have come for first time, kindly stand up at your places so that we can welcome you in our traditional way. Woo! Thank you. Thank you for taking out your time, coming here, spending Saturday night, understanding spirituality, and exposing yourself to not have any excuses henceforth. So we are very grateful to all of you for taking out your time, and we pray to the Shri Radha Gopinath ji that he keeps blessing you and help you to progress further in spiritual life. So would like to welcome these all devotees in our traditional way by loudly chanting Haribo. And so announcement for all of you, those who have come for first time, your prasadam and your special gift, your only gift, the gift what you are going to receive for coming today here in Prerna Festival will be distributed in Bhakti Vedanta Hall. So your prasadam will be in regular line with all of your friends, but your gift will be available in Bhakti Vedanta Hall. Please note this, you have to show your coupon and take those gifts. Okay? So kindly be seated. Now we'll be having Kirtan. If anyone has any question, they can ask after this. Kindly be seated.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So if somebody has a question,
You can raise your hand and mic will come to you. Acha, Prabhuji has a question.
no.
Hare Krishna, please be seated. A very wonderful question is coming.
Wait. So if somebody has a question, one or two questions we can take, or maybe one question. But I am available downstairs at the youth corner. There's one stall at the youth corner. There, if you have many questions, I know this topic is like that. There will be questions. So I am available at the youth corner below. You can talk to me there also. One question probably we can take. One question, if somebody has, you can raise your hand.
Okay, there is the question. Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sir, I have started with the spirituality journey. It's a very initial stage I am. But once we start, lot of obstacles and lot of things happen to us. How to overcome that?
Okay. So there are many obstacles which comes, right? And that's also, if that's one of the excuses I had listed down, that people do have one kind of things that I'm occupied with so many problems, so many obstacles. What should I do? I cannot take up to the spirituality. Yes, true, there are problems. But when we see life of Arjuna, in his childhood, he lost his father. Then his own family members were mistreating him, right? And they had taken away his identity. They stripped off so many good facilities from them. We have to, when somebody is well equipped with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, what he understands, he raises himself above. Okay, he raises himself above and he don't see that problem. What I mean to say is, okay, I will give you an example. People say that there's many issues into my work life, corporate life, right? There's so much of competitions and it's like a really bad competition. That's why they call it as a rat race, right? So many rats, We see that situation sometimes. So many rats are just moving at one point. They're just moving in one direction and everybody's just, all the rats are following them. But just one rat, he raises himself up. He raises himself up and he says, oh, what all these rats are moving there? There's nothing in that. There's something very insignificant, but they are just rushing it there. There's no use of it, right? And he turns back, right? What it means is, we also see through, there's so many things happening in their life and people are just going on into their life like that. But when somebody elevates himself with the spiritual knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, he elevates himself and he sees a broader picture. Where are they rushing? The rats are rushing and they are going to the edge, the corner, and they are actually falling off. He understands that and he retreats, right? So that's what we have to see. We have to elevate if we elevate a little bit, we can understand, we take a bigger picture, right? Krishna advises same to Arjuna. You elevate your consciousness, the problem will not be the problem for you. I'll give you an example. Two sons, his father was alcoholic. Their father was alcoholic. So one son started saying that I am drinking because my whole life I had seen my father drinking it. And the other son, when asked, he says, no, I don't do any alcoholism. Rather, I go away from alcoholism. And he asked the reason why. He said the same sentence. Because all my life, I have seen my father drinking alcohol. Sentence was the same? Sentence was the same, right? Problems are the same, but you elevate your consciousness and see the different perspective of it, and you mold your life. So there could be many problems, but with the knowledge of Gita, we are well equipped to elevate ourselves, right? And see forth how the problem will not disappear, but we have got a spiritual vision to it, right? So that we can navigate through in a better way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pradyumna Mishra Prabhu. So now we'll be having ecstatic kirtan by His Grace, Purushottam Prabhu. Haribol! So I request all of you, make a big small circles and take part in this kirtan. Hare Krishna.